The next phase in the technological revolution is the introduction of artificial intelligence. You can train artificial intelligence to make these predictions on its own and adjust its responses with every single interaction. Now we're trying to clean up the image from being just a digital agency that focuses on e-commerce to being an innovation lab where we focus on AI products.
And how did that transition happen? Is it natural just from the market and everyone's approaching you more demand?
The economy overall is moving very fast, right? Technology is growing. So the next phase in the technological revolution is the introduction of artificial intelligence. So AI has been around since 1953. It's been progressing slowly, and companies had challenges over the years. They had very high hopes on what AI can do, but people's expectations were much further ahead than what the capabilities of AI were.
Gotcha.
Okay?
Yeah.
And so you can utilize AI technologies to automate a lot of stuff, to eliminate a lot of repetitive work. You can create certain predictive algorithms where in a prior life we had to utilize user experience and user journeys, and we had to make assumptions, and we had to look at data and try to make decisions and hope that customers would react in a particular way to a user experience. Now you can train artificial intelligence to make these predictions on its own and adjust its responses with every single interaction. So that's the biggest advantage of AI.
Like AI sprinkling, or like whenever there's a new buzzword, you just kind of like sprinkle it and you say, you need this or you need that. And like it changes every couple of years.
Yes.
What makes AI here to stay? Like where do you feel like it's most useful? And how do you think it applies for different size businesses and if it changes in any way?
So it is a lot of hype, right? This is a hype word. There's a lot of buzz going around it. The only difference is the impact of the technology is going to be drastic. It's kind of when mobile became a buzzword and everybody tried to build an app. Everybody had something to do with mobile. Yeah. Investors started jumping on mobile apps. Every software tried to be mobile friendly.
It's a buzzword that prevailed. We all have mobile apps.
Exactly.
That's how we
but now everybody's got a mobile device, and it's here to stay for quite some time until other devices start to replace it. AI is kind of in the same picture. According to analytics, we're going to have artificial intelligence ingrained in almost everything we have surrounding us within a matter of 2 to 3 years. So Internet of Things, you're going to have smart fridges, you're going to have smart homes. All the tools around you are going to somehow interact with one another using some sort of machine learning, natural language processing, deep learning, computer vision, right? So a lot of tools are going to be upgrading. Today, even products that investors invest into, if they don't have AI of some sort of level AI baked into their product, they don't even want to look at it.
You see the natural evolution of it in the market, but then there's also blockchain. There's also like a lot of other buzzwords. Just think of a few more. Computer vision counts as AI?
Yes.
Okay.
So today, two major factors is it's either blockchain or artificial intelligence. We dabbled in both. We understand both sides of the coin. Blockchain is a little bit early for the market, just the way that it entered the market from a bad perspective of cryptocurrency. Blockchain tech itself is incredible, but AI, I saw a little bit more application from what we're used to developing. One of the things is, even in e-commerce, I kept preaching for years that because an average conversion rate is around 3% across the board, what happens to the 97% of the visitors, right? And when I was analyzing it, I'm like, well, the user experience is static. I could look at your website from New York or from Africa, I'm still getting the same experience.
Right.
The product mix is the same. There is no digital assistant, or there's no assistant period to talk to you, to hold your hand, to ask you questions, to guide you in the right direction, right? People build websites and they assume that the visitors and consumers will figure it out on their own. And that's what happens.
Yeah.
You are left with different experiences. Everybody tries to be unique in their shopping experience. And I need to find a product, find a category, be intrigued, be enticed. I need to figure out, do I trust you or do I not trust you? And I have to do this all on my own. And when I get to the product page, you only give me one option, actually two options. You either tell me to purchase or leave my site. You're not giving me any alternatives. You're not communicating with me. You're not catering to my needs. You don't even know what my needs are. I have to figure it out on my own. So if I had to create a user experience where a system can understand what your intent is, if the system can read your digital fingerprint and how you're interacting with my website, what trigger points are important to you, and if I can change my product mix dynamically on the fly in real time to see if it works for you or if it doesn't, there's a greater chance you're going to actually make a purchase.
And that means language, that means the imagery that I'm showing you.
Correct.
That includes the actual products that you're offering. Anything else in there?
So you have several things to consider. You have the market audience and a product audience, right? You have an intent of self-purchase or gift purchase, right? You have an intent of finding a deal or finding quality or some sort of importance. So all these aspects, people have different needs and wants, right? When you go into the mall, you have a salesperson that greets you. They ask you if I can help you with anything. They can guide you to the right category. They can suggest that, hey, if you're buying for someone, for your wife, for your girlfriend, for your mother, here's a certain selection. They can ask questions about your person that you're buying for, what's their style, what do they like, what are their preferences, right? So you have that interaction with people, and these people can guide you. Ultimately, you still make your own decision. But if I can help you make that decision smarter and better, there's a greater chance you're going to stay and buy from me,
right,
and then come back and buy again.
So an AI personalization is the big word I'm seeing.
Yes.
Just like for e-commerce, it's all about AI can help a ton in terms of just personalizing.
Absolutely.
And thereby, call it sales, call it helping you find the right solution so you're not frustrated finding things that aren't relevant to you.
Correct.
I'm just thinking like all the different applications of AI, there's so many.
So I'll give you an interesting example of recently where doctors, for example, they look at scans to determine if you have cancer.
Right.
Okay. And doctors have a hard time reading and analyzing scans. And they have about 70 to 73% accuracy.
I actually remember with my grandma in the hospital,
Right.
watching them.
So now there's been groups that build these AI algorithms that analyze the same scans, and they get up to 99% accuracy. I think right now we're at 90% accuracy. They're in a very short term, they're predicting it's going to get to 99%, maybe even up to 100% of accuracy of determining if you have cancer or not,
Right.
over doctors. So AI is not going to replace doctors, but it's a great tool to support them,
Yeah.
to enhance their work.
A doctor doesn't want to be staring at little x-rays.
Correct.
Like,
But then again,
it's a machine job.
Your vision can get messed up. You could be in a bad mood. You could have whatever. There's a lot of outside forces that impact humans, right? Our decision making and how we react to certain things. A machine is a machine. It's consistent. Artificial intelligence, if you write the algorithm correctly, you're basically training it as if you're training a child. There's a certain set of rules and there's certain sets of outcomes. Now, the difference is when a kid or an adult even is learning something new, and when they make a mistake, there's a high likelihood they could make that mistake again, right? Mm-hmm. Even though somebody corrected them and said, this is a mistake, this is the right answer, right? So you might forget and might make that mistake again. Where the AI makes a mistake and that mistake gets corrected, it doesn't make that mistake again. So the learning curve of AI products is much, much faster. Now, you still need to focus AI on individual verticals. There's the concept of general AI, which is what people are afraid of, the Skynet and the computers taking over the world. Unfortunately, it is a great possibility, but in a very far future. Today, we don't have the technology, we don't have the computing power, we don't have enough substance, and AI in its own is still too young to get there.
I can't get Siri to tell me which movie to pick.
Correct. Exactly.
I think we're far from...
So Siri, Alexa, Google Home, they're all attempting for generalized AI, right? They want AI to know everything, understand everything, be able to get the context of your questions. Try talking in slang to any of these machines. They'll break. They just don't, they can't keep up. Now, that doesn't mean...
They haven't been trained yet.
Right. It doesn't mean that it's not going to get there one day.
Yeah.
But not today. Today, our focus is on what we call vertical AI. We see the advantage of utilizing artificial intelligence in solving complex problems. It's just another tool. AI is nothing crazy. It's not a black box. It's just another tool that helps us make better decisions, create better solutions, do things faster and smarter. How do you know about culture fit, right? Like, team diversity is the goal here.
Right.
Okay, and so similarly, how we designed the NANO team, based on cognitive team diversity, and we're not talking about color, race, gender. Cognitive diversity means how do people think? How do they process information? How do they consume information, and how they react to this information? If you build a team that's complementary to one another, cognitive diversity in a team proves that you get optimal results. It's been already disproven that having diversity based on gender and color and ethnicity doesn't work. They ran studies. It just doesn't work. They have teams that it does work for us. They have teams that doesn't work for, but overall it doesn't work. So there's no proof. But cognitive diversity in a team works. And what that means is, so our team is built with different talent that specializes in certain subsets of their domains. Right. So let's say in AI, there's around 10 different subsets. We hired individuals that specialize in each individual subset. Somebody who specializes in natural language processing, somebody in computer vision, somebody in machine learning. And so every one of our team members complement with their skills to other team members. Collectively, we can build almost any type of product because we have different skill sets and different mindsets. You have a complete circle, a well-designed team that is able to look at any problem from various different perspectives and bring various different solutions into the problem.
Is it just AI front end, back end, and product to manage it all?
Yes.
Okay, that to me is just very exciting. That one piece where you just said.
So this is the simplest way to look at it. You can automate any daunting tasks, but you can also dig through deep amounts of data and find opportunities. You could find different options. One case study was where Harley-Davidson dealer utilized an AI platform that was monitoring their marketing efforts, and they noticed that certain keywords within a sales ad performed a few 100% better than other ones. Yeah. And so the system made a decision without any human interaction to update every ad to replace one word, the most performing word, and their sales went over 2,000%. This was a phenomenal example of a computer learning on its own, right? As if a marketing person is paying attention to reports and saying, right, well, these ads performed better than these ads because this visual was better or this keyword was better. Right. So now we have to go and update it. So look, again, the AI is there to help assist us, right? So
it's rules that I never even wrote. I just gave it lots of data.
You gave it data and you gave it the outcomes you're looking for. and the system has to figure out how do
And
I
it makes
get...
its own rules on how to
Correct.
get
It
there.
makes its own rules, and in between...
That is different. That is substantially different.
Right. But it also speeds a lot of things up, like the platform that we're building for a job marketplace where we're trying to solve one of the two major problems, which is the time to hire. If you're looking through thousands of resumes, you're a person and you have to review 1,000 resumes, how long will it take you? You have a particular job description and you're trying to find the very right candidate to invite for an interview, and you're literally have 1,000 resumes, 1,000
I've been in
applicants.
this position multiple times.
Right. We've trained our system to understand the context of the job and what's important to the company, and then understand the context of the resumes and go through hundreds of thousands of resumes in real time and give you top 10 best matched. And that we're doing through the usage of artificial intelligence, right? We have multiple algorithms that are responsible for processing these resumes.
And where's the AI part where it's making its own decisions or its own rules? Because that can still be, and I think it was attempted many times with just algorithms.
So we've taught our algorithm to actually understand the context that you were a project manager at a financial firm and your responsibilities were X, Y, and Z.
Nothing finance related.
Not right. It might not be finance related, but we understand the written language. Our algorithm reads sentences instead of keywords. And so when we're looking at the job post, the algorithm analyzes the job post and understands what potentially is important for this job based on the context of your resume. So it's not just blind matching of keywords, but actual understanding as if a human is reading a resume and seeing, okay, does this person make sense for this position?
When you walk into a client's office, you're not looking at like their problems and you're like, wow, here's my AI hammer.
No, absolutely not.
We can AI that, we can AI that, we can AI that. Do you start with user experience? Like eventually AI might be a fit and that's what you want have in your back pocket. Well, how do you go actually about like?
So there's two types of companies out there. There's companies that produce products and then try to bring it to market and raise market awareness and create hype and try to shove it down the consumer's throat. Those are 99% of the companies. There's 1% of the companies that go to market to find problems and create solutions to those problems.
Yeah.
We are part of that 1%. Even if we go to a client, we don't come in with AI. We come in as a full service team. We like to focus on core business problems for established businesses. Rather than fixing surface problems, we try to focus on core problems. But you could also go to an industry and figure out the core problem within an industry and then build a solution for that problem. Just like we were talking about the staffing industry, right? This is a $200 billion industry. Broken process for the past 70 years of hiring, right? And the two problems within that entire industry is the time to hire and the quality to hire. If we solve these two problems, or we actually have solved these two problems, once we bring it to market, you're completely reshaping the entire industry, the entire hiring process. That's how we come in. So if you have an enterprise, we want to learn and understand. We have a very strong discovery process where we understand your business. We try to understand what you believe is the problem. We understand the marketplace. We understand your competitors. We learn and try to find the true issues. We don't make decisions based on opinions, on anything.
Okay.
We look at data, we look at how the market is set up, we're looking at...
And that already separates you from like 75% of the people out there.
Probably 99% of the people. Okay. Like I said, most agencies, they love their opinions. They love their approach and process. And we don't really care. All we care is for the truth. We care what is the fundamental truth behind what we're trying to achieve.
And how are you able to get to the truth better than any other agency?
Research, a lot of research.
Other agencies don't research?
They do, I guess.
Maybe your research process is different. Maybe there's something about how you do it?
The way that we research things is different. The way we look at things, our perspective is different. And again, our goal is to get to the core of the problem.
Maybe you take more time to actually speak to the customers, or?
Honestly, a lot of customers have surface problems. They don't know what the core of the problem is. Surface problems usually become the gatekeepers that open up the opportunity for us to start digging and learning and understanding. We also consider things, if you look at bringing new products to life, like startups, for example, we don't only look at product market fit, we also look at who's investing in it. Is it too crowded of a space? Like if you told me today, let's build self-driving cars, I would turn you down because that's a very flooded market. There's too many players.
It's also capital intensive.
Right, but there's no room for us to breathe. Arenas like ergonomics, for example, that's an empty field. There's no one playing in it. So we're pursuing it.
You treat it like a co-founder, like you're helping start the business with them.
Absolutely.
And that's different than an agency that's just kind of like, everyone claims to be we're your partner and we're there for you.
Right, but all they want is a cash deal.
Yeah, they're usually.
So with a lot of startups, we have a collaborative experience, right? A collaboration where we become your technology partner. We generally negotiate a lower rate with a little bit of equity so that it helps the startup get off the ground. They have a full team at their disposal, and we have a vested interest in their business. So we'll go through discovery, we'll help them figure out the right product, figure out the product market fit. We'll build the product. Like we're an AI consultancy that's hands-on. Right? There's a bunch of AI consultancies that will tell you, hey, you need this and that and the other. But we're actually a hands-on consultant.
What does that mean, hands-on?
We'll build it for you. We won't just tell you what you need to do, we'll build it for you. To take a couple of steps back, NANO started out as a digital agency, as a technology company to bring innovative tech into the market. And at the time that we were starting in 2007, e-commerce was the early boomer. People are actually not embracing it initially, they were actually fighting it back because they were very dependent on TV, on retail, on radio. But as the market got flooded, as more people became aware of the power of the internet, they started to accept it more.
Right.
So today, if you have a business of any kind, you understand web and e-commerce is a key factor of your business. Not recognizing it is...
it's just, at this point, it's table stakes.
Right, correct. But what's the next step, right? Now everybody's got a website. You have all these SaaS solutions out there. You have all these enterprise level software out there. Everything's available for any type of business. Now it's a question of how do we improve? How do we go to the next level? What's the next breaking point of innovation? This is where AI started to come into play. I've been a fan of AI since I was a kid. I used to be afraid of it because I saw, I had foresight of the potential of the power, and you have a lot of people talking about it in politics, how it will be impacted and how it should be regulated, because it is very powerful. But about 2 years ago, we saw a drastic shift in how agencies are operating and how the market's being flooded by great automated tools and SaaS platforms. So we started to explore how do we bring new innovative things to the market, which happens to be AI. So for enterprises, unfortunately, they're stuck working through incremental change. Even if you find the core of the problem, you can't fix it. You can't break it apart and say, okay, because it ruins everything they're built on.
So true innovation for enterprise is not possible.
It is possible.
It's possible, but
it's very difficult.
It's going to take lots of time, and
it's
probably not in your realm.
It's very high risk for them, but I don't think it's completely impossible, right?
It would only be a scenario where an enterprise would actually have a startup that they're incubating internally.
So if you think about Apple, right? Apple is a major corporation, major enterprise.
Most cash rich.
and they have a due diligence to their shareholders. They have to be profitable, right? So they will do business as usual. They'll keep selling products and doing things like that. Steve Jobs took initiative and he built an innovation lab completely off campus and made it run as if it's a startup.
Right.
So that when they come up with some brilliant idea that's completely disruptive, it doesn't interfere with everyday business.
Right.
They will build it, they'll create it into a product, they'll test the hell out of it, and then they will bring it to market through their distribution. This is where we actually have a little bit of an advantage. We can play that role of an external innovation lab for a particular enterprise. If enterprise says, oh, I want to fix my whole thing immediately, that we cannot do, right? It will break their process. But if we will come up with a parallel solution, work out the kinks, and then bring it to market and roll out in parallel to what they're doing now, and then slowly kill off the original, the legacy, that's the way to do it. That's the way to do it.
Outsourcing it versus in-house. These points that you're mentioning,
they're married to their products. In-house, you have an emotional attachment to the business. You know too much. Let's start with that. You know too much. To you, the impossible is impossible. To us, the impossible is possible because we're not married to your business. We don't have an emotional attachment. We don't have the fears that you have. We will be more riskier. We will think things from a completely different perspective than you would in-house, which is actually a huge advantage for bringing external teams. Right? You don't want to bring in an external team and outsource your core competency. That's a mistake. You want to bring in an external team for an R&D piece, for an innovation piece that complements your day-to-day business. Now, for startups, it's the complete opposite. Startups can do high risk. They can do whatever they want, right? The problem for the startups is usually a financial problem. High risk means potential of failure. If you're an enterprise, you took high risk, you failed, you're still going, you still have money.
Right.
Startup, you failed.
You feel the risk.
Right.
Enterprise doesn't as much, yeah.
But why do most startups fail? Lack of experience, lack of guidance, right? You have some young guy that comes up with a great idea, builds a team, or builds a product or conceptualizes a product and tries to go to market. They don't know how to run a business. They haven't concerned themselves, a product is maybe 10% of what it takes to bring it to the market. So because of lack of knowledge and understanding the business and what the next steps are and how to grow it, a lot of startups fail.
Right.
So we educate startups. And where we come in is as a consultancy, right? Even on this side, we come in as a consultancy, but now we're changing the mindset and we're building a smarter perspective to say, okay, your product makes sense in a market today. There's a huge issue of timing. You could be bringing a product at the wrong time, right? Like there's a story of a company that came 5 years earlier than YouTube.
Right.
They failed. They had all the money. They had a fantastic team, they had the funding, they had everything. Their timing was off. The technology wasn't quite there, so their runway burned out, they died. YouTube came 5 years later, did one-to-one what they've done, multi-billion-dollar company. If I talk to you, I'm going to talk to you about your business. I'm going to talk to you about your problems. And if I can talk to you about how I will solve your problems, do you really care what I've done for somebody else? Right? If you talk to 20 people and you tell 20 people your problem and they cannot solve your problem, and the 21st person says, here's how you solve your problem, do you really care? I mean, I'm just being realistic, right? Because all people care about is themselves.
Right.
They care about solving their own problem. Now, if I'm coming to you and saying, hey, look at this wonderful piece of software I wrote, you should buy it, you're going to ask me, who have you sold this to before? Show me traction, show me proof. That's another reason, right? Like our process is different. We are a consultancy. We're coming in and we're saying, hey, we solve problems. What's your problem? How can we help you?
Right.
What are your greatest challenges? What are you dealing with? Right? And you're going to say, okay, well, our enterprise is leaking money somewhere. We don't know where. Somewhere within our ordering system or logistics, money's going, so we can't figure it out. We have tons of orders, tons of data, tons of shipping. We're connected with 20 different external vendors. But somewhere we're losing money and we can't figure it out.
Right.
At that point, we can come up with a solution. We say, look, we'll write you a system that will curate everything that you have. And the system, through use of AI, this is where AI is actually perfect, where AI can actually filter through everything and find the gaps and find where the loss is happening, right? And we can bring you the solution. Our discovery process generally opens up the doors and says, here's the problem, here's the solution.
Relationship gets you in the door, then they speak about their problems, and then that's enough for you to build enough trust to like, wow, these people know what they're talking about, they've actually solved it.
Right.
And if they're the ones presenting it, I can go and run with the ideas myself, but if they're the ones presenting it, they're probably the best to execute on it.
Even if they try to go with the idea themselves, when you get to the core of any problem, the execution is incredibly hard.
Right.
Getting the right people in place to execute is incredibly hard, especially if it has anything to do with AI.
So what are the major pain points of like why it's so hard?
So Apple, Facebook, Amazon, Google, they're consuming intelligent resources that focus on AI development straight from colleges. They take people with no experience. They try to get them as soon as possible. They promise them the dream, and they could afford them, right? And at any given rate.
Right.
We actually take the next step. We go into the large corporations and we try to invite people that got the taste for large corporations.
Right.
And realize that they're not happy there because all they are is a tool. Their opinion doesn't matter.
All right.
They're working on one project for 3 years straight. Your motivation falls short.
I think a big thing is not just there's expertise, but it's also recognizing the rarity of that expertise.
Yes.
That is a huge selling point in itself.
I like to say is we invest in people first, right? I know that the core of any company is its people. Companies don't mean shit. Company is an entity.
Right.
It depends what people you have. You have rotten people, you're gonna have a rotten company.
Right.
You have a phenomenal team of people, you're gonna have a phenomenal company. Like CEOs that ignore the needs of their employees are morons. They lose them. And today you can't afford to ignore the needs and wants of the employees, right? But at the same time, we don't believe, we're not a ping pong table type of a culture either. Very serious in regards to work.
What does that mean? Oh, ping pong, like just...
Yeah, like,
Okay.
You go work for Google. You have game rooms, you have, open kitchen and everything, skateboards and things like that.
Right.
We don't want to waste time, all right? We want to produce incredible products. So what do you do in that case? Like, this is where we are trying to change.
You're trying to do the equity model, you're trying to be more adaptive,
Yes.
trying to figure out a way. Fine,
Exactly.
we'll take something in the long term.
take something
You play the
long-
venture arm game.
Correct.
You can go that.
Which is why we're trying to start bringing venture partners into the picture to say, hey, here's an opportunity. Guy came, he's got a little bit of money, and he's willing to run the show, right? Because we don't want to run the show, we just want to build a product. But we've uncovered the core of the problem. Here's all the upside from it. Here's the potential. This is all the money, Mr. VC. This is all the money you're gonna make once we solve this problem.
Oh, that I also
But instead of
got,
$50,000, you need $500,000 to build the solution.
Yeah.
So here's a pitch deck. What do you think?
Right.
That's the relationships we're trying to help these people. Right now, the startups we deal with have to go out and find their own VCs, with their own investors, their own seed money. We're trying to build relationships with VCs so that we could say, hey, it becomes a process. We become kind of like an incubator. It's just not the right terminology. But you come to me, you have an idea. I'm hoping that you have domain expertise. If you have domain expertise, then it's worth me investing side by side with you.
Right.
If you just Joe Schmo off the street, it's much harder because we still have to find somebody with domain expertise.
The founder needs domain expertise.
Preferably.
Yeah.
Right? So if the founder has domain expertise, he understands the market, he understands the business.
Right.
He just doesn't understand the core of the problem. We build a solution for the core of the problem, and it's easier to sell to the VC. Hey, we got the technical and the product portion covered.
Right.
You have a domain expert that's the CEO. So you have two most important pieces of the puzzles. Now the piece that's missing is financial. This is where you come in. You fund it. He has a plan. He's going to run it, and then he's going to bring in on board a growth team, chief marketing officer, CFO, customer service people, business development, right? It's a multi-phase plan. We'd like to be at the very beginning of that plan because we've been around for so long and we've worked with so many different businesses, large and small, that we've made all the mistakes. We already paid the price. We've already learned from our mistakes. So now we can take intelligent risks the way that a startup could and the way that a corporation cannot.
Right.
So we are able to take risks with the enterprise experience in our hands. That's where NANO fits in. We're small enough to take high risks, but we've been around long enough to understand the risk and reward process.
I like that. I like that a lot.
So what do you do in that case? Like, this is where we're trying to change.
You're trying to do the equity model. You're trying to be more adaptive.
Yes.
Trying to figure out a way. Fine,
exactly.
we'll take something in the long term.
Take something
you play
long.
the venture arm game.
Correct.
You can go that.
Which is why we're trying to start bringing venture partners into the picture to say, hey, here's an opportunity. Guy came, he's got a little bit of money, and he's willing to run the show, right? Because we don't want to run the show. We just want to build a product. But we've uncovered the core of the problem. Here's all the upside from it. Here's the potential. This is all the money, Mr. VC. This is all the money you're gonna make once we solve this problem.
Oh, that I also
But instead of $50,000, you need $500,000 to build the solution.
Yeah.
So here's a pitch deck. What do you think?
Right.
That's the relationships we're trying to help these people. Right now, the startups we deal with have to go out and find their own VCs, with their own investors, their own seed money. We're trying to build relationships with VCs so that we could say, hey, it becomes a process. We become kind of like an incubator. It's just not the right terminology. But you come to me, you have an idea. I'm hoping that you have domain expertise. If you have domain expertise, then it's worth me investing side by side with you.
Right.
If you just Joe Schmo off the street, it's much harder because we still have to find somebody with domain expertise.
The founder needs domain expertise.
Preferably.
Yeah.
Right? So if the founder has domain expertise, he understands the market, he understands the business.
Right.
He just doesn't understand the core of the problem. We build a solution for the core of the problem, and it's easier to sell to the VC. Hey, we got the technical and the product portion covered.
Right.
You have a domain expert that's the CEO. So you have two most important pieces of the puzzles. Now the piece that's missing is financial. This is where you come in. You fund it. He has a plan. He's going to run it, and then he's going to bring in on board a growth team, chief marketing officer, CFO, customer service people, business development, right? It's a multi-phase plan. We'd like to be at the very beginning of that plan. Fundamental truth is the key here. It's deconstructing things to the most fundamental truth. If I understand the real core of the problem, not the surface, not anything that you think of, and most people are like attacking what they could see, right? Like if you ever get a skin rash,
yeah,
what do? Put cream on your skin, right? On that rash. Problem is not that. Your skin rash is an alert of your body system telling you there is something wrong somewhere in your entire system.
Right.
And that's how most people approach things.